Safety, a device to prevent injury or accident. To be free from danger or injury, secure. I wonder if we're secure.
Can you define safety in your life? People are depending on you to bring in your crop and to do it as quickly as possible. People are depending on you to deliver what you've promised. And people are depending on you to come home every night. Are you and your family free from danger or injury? Do you work safely? Case Axial-Flow combines are state-of-the-art grain harvesting machines designed to operate safely and efficiently when operated in the intended manner. To achieve the full benefits of this machine, you need to know how to work safely. One of the most important things to do is to read the operator's manual. Case spends thousands of hours testing prototype equipment before it goes into production. The manual can be found in its storage compartment in the cab of the combine. The operator's manual covers how the machine works, hazards you might encounter, recommended safety procedures, and the proper operational techniques. It is especially important that any new operators read, understand, and practice the safety and procedural recommendations found in the manual, and remind them that the operator's manual is the final word in regards to safe operation. One of the most important responsibilities of an operator is to know how everything works on the combine and how to control it. You need to know how each control works, how the different controls relate to each other, and their location. Practice using the controls until you become comfortable with them. You also need to know how to stop the combine and any of its operations quickly in the event of an emergency. Remember to return it to its compartment when finished. The manual must be available for use by all operators. Every year, new workers are hired to help bring in the harvest. Some of these people will have little experience working in or around a combine. For this reason, and for all-around safety during the harvest, the entire crew must become familiar with the operating procedures and with each other before the harvest. This is especially important for combine operators, as most of the work will be centered around them and what they're doing. Talking and listening to a trained operator is an effective way to learn how to safely operate any machine. The trainer will show you how to work quickly, efficiently, and safely. For example, the trainer will show you how to start each day. First, walk around the combine and inspect it for damage or trouble spots. You should check the combine for fluid leaks, chaff, dirt or trash buildup, loose bolts, anything that could affect the normal operation of the combine. Ask your trainer to point out the blind spots on the combine. Also read and follow all warning decals on the combine and make sure everyone, not just you, can easily read the decals. If they are faded, torn, painted over, or lost, replace them. Many factors affect the reliability and safety of your combine. Keeping the machine in good repair is an important part of safety. Breakdowns may lead to unsafe shortcuts. A daily maintenance schedule should include checking various operational items, such as checking the fluid levels, examining hoses, inspecting belts and chains, testing the lights, checking tire pressure. These checks may focus on certain areas more than others, depending on the operating conditions, but certain safety items must be checked every morning. Due to the flammable nature of the crop materials, fire risks are high. Be sure and check the position and condition of the fire extinguishers on the combine. Make sure all the shields are in place and properly secured. Make sure that all the steps and handrails are clean and free of obstructions. Slipping and falling are a major cause of farming accidents. Inspect all of the safety and warning emblems, making sure they are clean and visible from a distance, especially the SMV emblem on the rear of the machine. And check one more thing: your clothing. Loose, torn, or bulky clothing can catch on moving parts, pedals, or levers. Your hair can become a safety hazard as well, especially if it is beyond shoulder length. Longer hair, whether on male or female, can be a potential hazard and should be tucked under a hat or tied up in a way that prevents it from catching on anything while you're working. Now we're ready to start up. Before you climb up to the cab, check the ladder. Inspect the shear bolt. If the shear bolt is damaged, replace it immediately. And make sure the ladder is locked into place before climbing up. When entering or leaving the cab, always face the combine and use the handrails to prevent slipping and possible injury. Once in the cab, make sure you can reach all of the controls comfortably. Make sure the windows are clean and that the seat is properly adjusted for you. Check your mirrors and remember where your blind spots are. The safest place on the combine is in the driver's seat. Operate the controls only when seated in the operator's seat. Never start an engine in a closed shed or garage. Proper ventilation is required under all circumstances. Remember, carbon monoxide is colorless, odorless, silent, and deadly. And never bypass start an engine. Machine runaway can cause injury or death to the operator and bystanders. Before starting, make sure the vicinity around the combine is clear. The machine should be ready to start if it was shut down properly. Look at the controls to make sure that the parking brake switch is engaged, the propulsion control lever is in neutral, and the separator drive switch is off. Now place the throttle control lever at about the 1/3 position. Yell "clear" and sound the horn. Turn the key switch to the on position to check the indicator lamps and audible alarm. Then turn the key switch to the start position until the engine starts. As soon as the engine starts, set the throttle hand lever at low idle position, about 1050 to 1150 RPMs. Visually scan all the instruments for any abnormal indications or warnings. Make sure the engine is properly warmed up before performing any work. To properly shut down, let the engine run at low idle speed for 3 to 5 minutes. Lower any or all attachments. Engage the parking brake. Put the throttle control lever in the engine stop position. Place all controls in neutral. Turn the key switch to the off position and remove the key from the switch. When a passenger seat is provided in the cab, an experienced operator can ride with all new operators. Start in a flat, open area so the operators can get a feel of how the combine drives. And remember this rule of thumb: never back up if you can drive forward. Then the trainer should guide the operators through the areas they will be driving in during the harvesting. They can then point out areas of concern, such as soft shoulders, narrow bridges, steep hills, drop-offs, anything that requires special attention. Get familiar with the operating controls and try to get a feel for your dimensions. How much room do you have in front? How far does the unloader tube extend out? How quickly does the back end swing out in a tight turn? Try to become comfortable with the harvesting tasks you'll be performing and become comfortable with how the machine operates. Field operation. Now it's time to put into practice a device that will prevent injury or accident. Safety. First of all, use good operating sense when working in the field. All case combines are built to handle tough crop conditions, but they are not designed for recreation, for carrying riders during operation, or as tow trucks. Use them for the jobs they are designed to do. If the combine you're operating has the drive wheel set for a narrow tread setting, be aware that your stability is reduced. This is especially important when turning. Everyone on the crew should know what areas of the combine to avoid and how to work around the combines. But remember, the operator is responsible for the action of the machine. Therefore, always keep track of anyone around your machine. Make eye contact before moving. Under no circumstances should anyone approach a moving combine. If you're using a radio, remember there is no guarantee that you are being heard. Use predetermined hand signals and make sure everyone on the crew is familiar with them. Keeping track of everyone is especially important if you're using the straw spreaders or a straw chopper. When using straw spreaders, make sure everyone is aware that they are installed and that everyone should stay away from the rear of the combine. Grain or corn cobs thrown from the spreaders can cause serious injury. The same applies to the straw chopper, but the chopper has other special concerns. Everyone should know that the straw chopper rotor is running whenever the separator is in operation. There are times when unscheduled maintenance needs to be performed on the combine. For instance, if you slug a header and the feeder reverser doesn't fully clear the slug, you may have to manually clean out the slug. Never service or make adjustments to the machine with the engine running. Put both the feeder clutch switch and the separator drive switch in the off position and shut down properly. Anytime you need to work under the feeder or header, engage the feeder safety lock. Do not depend on the machine's controls to keep you out of harm's way. Clean out the slug by hand. This may be done from the header side, or you may have to get in from the feeder house to clean up the problem. But be very careful of your footing and balance when working above the header. You could fall on the sharp surfaces of the auger. Remember to disengage the feeder safety lock before resuming operations. There are many adjustments that can be made to the machine to optimize productivity. But until you're out there working, you probably don't know what adjustments to make. Again, never service or make manual adjustments to the machine with the engine running. The combine, like all farm machinery, demands respect and responsibility. When working in the field, don't hurry. You might be tempted to try and perform some maintenance on the machine while it's running. For example, the cooling system should be checked daily, but if the cooling fin should become clogged with dirt and dust, you might need to check it several times during the day. Your combine may have a wiper blade on the radiator to help clean the radiator surface during operation. This blade will not stop running unless the engine is turned off. Only then can you clean the radiator. Don't get in the habit of trying unsafe shortcuts. To keep yourself and others up and running safely all day long, periodically check the following. Walk around the machine to check the shields. Make sure they're all in place and correctly fastened. The shields are there for everyone's protection. If a shield is removed for service, make sure it is replaced as soon as service is done. A forgotten or lost shield is of no value. Operating conditions will change during the day. Therefore, you should check the hoses, especially if you notice any sluggish or unusual control response. Remember that hydraulic fluid is under very high pressure and can cut and penetrate the skin very easily, causing serious injury or death. Use paper or cardboard to check for leaks and see a physician immediately if oil penetrates the skin. Recheck all the belts for good condition, alignment, and tension. A misaligned or slipping belt could, due to increased friction, cause a field fire. Of course, if doing any sort of belt maintenance, turn off the engine. Some belts run at speeds of 50 feet per second. This means the belt would move at least 17 feet before you could react. Recheck the tension and alignment of the chains on the combine. And as with belts, an improperly maintained chain can generate a tremendous amount of heat, which could cause a fire. Do not perform any maintenance on the chains while the engine is running. Chains are even more aggressive than belts and can cut and slice exposed skin and are more likely to catch hands and loose clothing than belts. And recheck your clothing. As the weather changes, you might put something on or take something off that could be a safety hazard. One area of field operation that requires special attention is the unloading of the grain tank. This is when knowing where everyone is becomes of paramount concern. Use your radio and hand signals so everyone knows what you are doing. Workers can be crushed between the combine and other vehicles. Watch your mirrors and be aware of your blind spots. Make eye contact with anyone working around or approaching the combine, and keep track of their movements. A wide header can swing backwards during maneuvering and hit or crush a person. If you are a new operator or just learning, have someone on the ground spot you as you swing out the unloader tube. The sides of many grain trucks are very high, and people standing on the sides could be hit with the unloader tube, or they could fall on or near the combine. Keep eye contact with your spotter and be ready to stop the tube at any time. There is no reason for anyone to enter the grain tank while the combine is running. This should never be done. The rotating augers in the bottom of the grain tank can cause severe injury, including loss of limbs. These combines can unload 100 pounds of grain per second. Be aware of your position and footing at all times during the unloading process. In certain crop conditions, material could hesitate during unloading, making it necessary to adjust the unloading auger covers to improve the unloading of the grain tank. If agitation of the material is necessary, it must be done by a second person from the engine service area using a pole or broom. One person must remain in the operator's cab to stop the engine if necessary. The person in the cab must be in contact with the people doing the agitating, either directly or through the use of a spotter. Although combines are not made for public roads, there are times when such travel cannot be avoided. Before entering any roadway, make sure the combine complies with all local, state, and federal regulations. There are a few things that need to be done to make the equipment ready for public road transport. Make sure the grain tank is empty. Swing the unloader tube into the transport position and use the retaining clip to secure it in place. From the cab, raise the header high enough for good ground clearance. One very important step is to lock the brake pedals together. This will ensure uniform application with properly maintained brakes, providing the maximum stopping ability. Make sure the brake pedal linkage is properly adjusted and that the brake latch is fully engaged. Turn on the amber warning lights and check your mirrors. It's a good idea to have two pilot vehicles travel with you while you're on the road, one ahead and one behind the combine. If you only have one pilot vehicle, it should travel ahead of you. But sometimes you will be on the road without any help. Once on the road, keep to the right as far as possible. To maintain complete control of the combine, watch your speed. Do not exceed 20 miles per hour. When going downhill, use the propulsion control lever to slow the speed of the combine if needed. Do not use the foot and inch pedal. Let the engine and hydraulic transmission help you control the machine's speed. Watch your mirrors and be aware of the traffic around you. Pull over to let normal traffic pass. Make sure to signal and slow down before turning. Be sure to know your stopping distance. Remember that liquid in the tires or weights on the combine or wheels add weight and could affect the stopping distance. The tires on your combine are meant to provide the optimum traction in the field, not on wet or muddy roads. Weather and road conditions can drastically affect the driving performance of your combine. And check your clearance before going under electric lines, bridges, or tree limbs that hang over the road. In some instances, it may even be necessary to remove the exhaust extension and any cleaner extensions. Refueling the combine is a routine practice that can easily be done safely if you develop and practice the right habits. You need to respect the fact that diesel fuel is toxic and flammable. Always refuel the combine outside, where there is plenty of ventilation. Never refuel the machine while the engine is running. Check the area around you for open flames or the potential for an electrical spark. Make sure access to the fuel tank is clean and stable. A good maintenance practice is to wipe off the area around the fuel cap before and after fueling. This will decrease the chances of dirt contamination in the fuel. Make sure to use a pressure-sensitive pump handle and never leave the nozzle unattended during fueling. Do not breathe in the diesel fumes. And if any fuel should spill, clean it up quickly, especially if you spill any on your skin. And of course, never smoke while refueling. It is important to remember that your physical and emotional condition is just as important as the condition of your equipment. Short, frequent breaks will rest you better and faster than longer, less frequent ones. And if you are exhausted, stop. Fatigue is a major factor in combine accidents. If you are ill, tired, angry, upset, or if your mind is on something else, stop and take a break. Or ask someone else to take over for a while. Switching drivers is sometimes the best way to keep the whole crew on track, especially at night. Don't let your pride dictate your decisions. It could lead to a fatal mistake. It is important that you are comfortable while operating the combine. Make sure the seat is adjusted for your comfort. Adjust the mirrors and radio so that you don't have to lean to use them. And set the temperature controls to suit you. Discomfort is distracting, and it leads to fatigue. And most importantly, never get in a hurry about anything you do with the combine. Take your time, do it right, and do it safely. There is a lot of pressure to beat the weather and to bring in the crop as quickly as possible. People are depending on you to deliver. And the most important people in your life are depending on you to deliver yourself home every night.
Safety, a device to prevent injury or accident.
Use safe combine operation to prevent injury or accident.
To be free from danger or injury, secure.
To free yourself and those around you from danger or injury.
Secure. Yeah, I guess we're pretty secure.